Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different.
A little more focused.
Exactly. Usually we take this really wide lens on a topic, philosophy, history, big tech trends. But today we are zooming in, microscopically in. We are looking at one of the most high stakes, high stress, and frankly, dangerously misunderstood arenas in the modern world. Ontario real estate.
It is a jungle out there. It really is. And most people are walking into it wearing, like, flip-flops when they should be in full combat boots.
That is a terrifying image, but it feels so accurate. And specifically, we're going to be navigating the treacherous waters of condominiums and that absolute beast known as pre-construction or new builds.
The Wild West.
It really is. Now, before anyone tunes out thinking, oh, I'm not buying a house today, our contracts are boring, let me just stop you. This isn't just dry contract talk. We have got our hands on a stack of source material that is essentially a mastery guide.
Right. And this isn't, the Real Estate for Dummies book you might pick up at the airport. This is based on advanced logic, the kind of stuff used for high-level real estate exam prep. We call it the tacit logic.
Tacit logic.
Yeah. And it's designed to do one thing, really, to identify the very specific traps where professionals lose their licenses.
Yeah.
And where regular buyers,
Ah.
well, where they lose their life savings.
The stakes are actually that high.
Oh, higher. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars just gone, evaporated. All because someone misunderstood a single definition buried in a 100-page document they didn't read.
Okay, that got my attention. So the goal for this deep dive is pretty simple. We want to move past common knowledge. Because as we find out on this show constantly, common knowledge is usually wrong.
Almost always.
And get you to understand the logic behind the documents. We are not just memorizing rules today. We are learning how to, read the matrix.
That is the perfect way to put it. You need to see the code behind the walls. Because the walls might look pretty, but the code could be a total disaster.
So, to kick things off, I want to pose a question to you and to everyone listening. I want you to imagine you are looking at buying a condo. You find the perfect unit, great view, granite countertops, all the works.
The dream unit.
The dream unit. You get the documents, and you see the condo's reserve fund, which is, the savings account for big repairs. It has $900,000 in it. My question is that adequate? Is that a healthy condo?
I love this question. It's the perfect place to start.
Because my gut reaction, and I think the reaction of 99% of people is, hell yes, $1 million almost. $900,000 is a lot of cash. If I have that in my personal bank account, I'm retiring tomorrow. So yes, it's adequate.
And that right there, that feeling, that is the first trap.
Yeah.
And at the sound of a trap snapping shut on your leg, if you looked at that number and said, yes, that's great, you have just made a critical error.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me having nearly $1 million in the bank is a bad thing? How is that even possible?
It's not that it's inherently bad. It's that the number, $900,000, in total isolation, tells you absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Is a meaningless statistic without context. I mean, think about it. $900,000 is a lot of money to buy a coffee. It is a lot of money to buy a car. It is zero money if you need to replace a parking garage membrane that costs $1.5 million next Tuesday.
Okay, I see where you're going. It's all about the purchasing power relative to the liability. It's not about the number itself.
Exactly. And this is where we're going to start by debunking the myths of the status certificate. This document, it's like the holy grail of condo buying, but people treat it like a crystal ball. They think it tells them if the condo is good or bad.
Right. Let's unpack this. The status certificate, everyone talks about it. You have to get your lawyer to review the status. The common belief is that this document is the judge and jury. It gives you a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Right. And that is the absolute core misconception.
Yeah.
We need to completely reframe how we look at the status certificate. It is not a judge. It is a reporter.
A reporter.
It reports facts. Strictly facts. It does not offer conclusions. It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't care about you.
So it's a data dump, not a review. It's just a printout of statistics.
Precisely. Think about what it actually lists. It tells you the current common expense fees, the monthly maintenance fees. It tells you if there are any arrears for that specific unit you're looking at.
So does the seller owe any money?
Exactly. Does the current owner owe the condo corp money? It gives you that exact reserve fund balance we just talked about, down to the penny on that specific day.
And it also lists if there are any special assessments that are already planned or approved, right? Like if they know for a fact they need to fix the elevators next year.
Yes, and the words planned or approved are key. That is crucial legal language. If the board is just, whispering about it in the hallway after a meeting but hasn't officially voted on it, it might not be in there.
So it's not a rumor mill.
It is not. It also gives you the unit-specific share of the common expenses, the percentage of the building you technically own, and summaries of any ongoing insurance claims or legal matters. But nowhere, absolutely nowhere on that document will you see a box check that says, this condo is financially adequate.
Because adequacy is an opinion. It's a judgment call.
Adequacy is an analysis, and you cannot get that analysis from the status certificate alone. It is impossible. You have to get it by comparing the certificate to another document entirely, the reserve fund study.
Okay, so distinguish those two for us. Status certificate versus reserve fund study. I feel like people use those terms interchangeably all the time.
They do, and it's a huge mistake. The status certificate is a snapshot. It says, as of today, at 2:00 p.m., we have exactly this many dollars in the bank. Full stop.
It's a photo.
A single photo. The reserve fund study, on the other hand, is the movie. It's an engineering and financial report, usually looking 30 years into the future, that says, okay, in 2 years, the roof is projected to fail. In 5 years, the garage membrane is going to start leaking. In 10 years, the elevators will need a full replacement.
It's the forecast.
It's the forecast. So let's go back to our $900,000 example.
Right.
You see $900,000 in the snapshot in the status certificate. You feel good, you feel safe. But then you open the reserve fund, study the forecast, and you turn to page 40, and it says there's a planned expenditure of $2 million for new windows and balcony railings, and it's due in 18 months.
Suddenly, that $900,000 looks like pocket lint. It's nothing.
Exactly. It's a disaster waiting to happen. You're over $1 million short. And that means one of two things is coming down the pipe. Likely the moment you get your keys. A massive permanent fee increase or a huge special assessment.
That is a massive distinction, snapshot versus forecast. It seems so obvious when you say it like that, but I can see how easy it is to get blinded by the big number in the bank account.
It happens every single day. And there's another layer to this adequacy trap that the source material points out. It's the percent funded metric. You might see a study that says the reserve fund is 40% funded.
40% sounds like a failing grade. If I got 40% on a test, I'd be hiding the report card from my parents. That sounds terrible.
It might be terrible, but in the condo world, 40% might actually be okay if the financial plan attached to it is to gradually increase fees over the next 5 years to catch up in a controlled way.
So it's not just the number, it's the plan to fix the number.
It's always the plan. But if you don't read that plan, you won't know that your monthly fees are about to go up by, say, 15% every single year for the next decade. That's a huge hit to your budget.
So this brings up a really important question. If I'm a salesperson or even a very savvy buyer and I'm looking at all this, do I make that call? Do I tell my client, hey, this looks adequate or this looks like a safe bet?
You absolutely, positively do not. And this is what we call the legal lane we mentioned in the intro. If you are a real estate salesperson, your job is to help your client obtain the certificate. You explain the process. You highlight where the reserve fund number is. You encourage the buyer strongly to review it, but you are not a forensic accountant and you are not a lawyer.
You don't give the thumbs up, even if it looks perfect to you.
Never, because perfect is a legal opinion. The moment a question from your client smells like, is this safe? Or what does this legal clause mean for me? The only correct move, according to the source material and, frankly, the law, is to involve a third-party professional, a lawyer.
The smell test. I like that. If it smells like a legal opinion, you have to hand it off.
Exactly. The source material is very, very clear on this. Salespeople get into massive trouble when they try to play lawyer. You are there to facilitate the transaction, not to guarantee the financial future of a multi-million-dollar corporation. Imagine telling a client, oh, don't worry about that lawsuit listed in the legal summary. It looks frivolous to me.
And then the corporation loses that lawsuit and everyone's fees double overnight.
And then you get sued into oblivion. Stay in your lane. That's the #1 rule.
Speaking of financial nightmares, let's talk about the boogeyman of condo ownership, special assessments.
The dreaded words. It strikes fear into the heart of every single owner.
Oh, the fear is real. You buy a condo, you're all moved in, and 6 months later, the board sends a letter saying, surprise, we need $20,000 from you for the lobby renovation. Thanks.
Pay up.
The myth, though, and I have to admit, I believed this until I read the guide, is that you have to write a check for $20,000 that very day. Like it's a ransom demand.
Right. People just assume it's immediate lump sum or bust. Pay us by Friday or we're putting a lien on your unit.
Yeah.
But the reality, according to the Mastery Guide, is that there is no automatic rule in the Condo Act requiring a lump sum payment.
Really? So there's actually flexibility. They don't just demand the full amount up front.
There is often a lot of flexibility. The condo corporation has options. They can ask for a lump sum, sure, and that might be their preference. But they can also structure it as installments over time.
Oh.
So it might be an extra $200 a month on your fees for the next 5 or 10 years until the amount is paid off.
That makes it so much more manageable. It's just like a temporary fee increase, basically.
Exactly. Or sometimes, if the amount is really huge, the corporation itself will take out a loan, a massive commercial loan for, say, $5 million, and the owners just pay back that loan through their regular monthly fees. The owners never write a separate check at all.
So the takeaway here is if you're studying for an exam or just panicking as an owner, don't invent strict, harsh rules where the law actually allows for flexibility.
Exactly. Don't assume the absolute worst-case scenario is the only legal requirement. It's a negotiation between the board's financial needs and the owner's financial reality.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly from saving money to making money to the investment side of things. We have a lot of listeners who look at real estate not just as a home, but as a key part of their portfolio. They want that passive income. The source material brings up a specific valuation formula called EGIM, the effective gross income multiplier.
This is where the math gets a little spicy and where people make a very specific, very expensive, and very common mistake.
Okay, walk us through it. What is the basic formula?
So the formula for EGIM is the sale price of the property divided by the effective gross income, or EGI. It sounds really simple. Price divided by income. It basically tells you how many years of income it would take to pay for the property. A lower number is generally better.
But the devil is always in the details, isn't it?
The devil is in the vacancy rate. Let's do what the source calls a deal autopsy here. Imagine an investor. Let's call him Steve. Steve is looking at a small apartment building or maybe a block of rented out condos. The gross income, that's the total potential rent if every single unit was full 365 days a year, is $89,000. The sale price is $980,000. And the data for that area says there's a typical vacancy rate of 2%.
Okay, so Steve takes his calculator out. He's excited. He punches in $980,000 divided by $89,000.
Right, and he gets a multiplier of roughly 11. He thinks, great, that fits my investment model. It's an 11 cap deal, basically. He buys the place. But Steve just walked right into a trap.
Because he used the fantasy money, the money he'll never actually see.
Exactly. He completely ignored the vacancy. He assumed he would collect 100% of the potential rent, which never, ever happens in the real world. You have to strip that 2% vacancy out of the income first.
Before you do any other math.
Before you even touch the sale price. So you take the $89,000, you remove 2% of that.
Which is, what, about $1,780?
Right. Which brings you to a true effective gross income of roughly $87,220. Then you divide the $980,000 price by that lower, more realistic income number, and that gives you the correct multiplier, which is about 11.24.
Now, okay, 11 versus 11.24. That sounds like a tiny, tiny difference. It feels like we're splitting hairs. Why does Steve care?
It sounds tiny until you apply it to $1 million asset. A bank won't see it as tiny. That small difference in a multiplier could mean Steve overpaid for that property by $20,000, $30,000, even $40,000 based on its actual performance. Or, maybe more critically, if you're trying to get financing, the bank's underwriters will do the math correctly. They'll look at his fantasy numbers from his application, and they'll reject the loan because the real debt coverage ratio doesn't work.
I see. So in investment analysis, vacancy isn't just like decoration or a footnote.
No, vacancy is money you don't have. It's a non-negotiable part of the equation. You cannot calculate a multiplier based on money you will never, ever see. It's the difference between a profitable deal and a deal that quietly bleeds cash every single month.
I love that phrase. Vacancy is money you don't have. Okay, let's move from the math to the physical reality of the building. When you see a condo listing, there is usually this massive wall of text. Beautiful panoramic views, chef's kitchen, steps to the subway. But the source material asks a really smart question. What is actually key info?
This is fascinating because it forces you to think like a buyer, not like a spreadsheet. The source material sets up a comparison. What's more important, average rent arrears for rented units, or short-term rental rules.
Short-term rental rules. Okay, so we're talking about, can I Airbnb this place?
Exactly. And to a modern buyer, can I Airbnb this
Yeah.
is a massive factor. It impacts absolutely everything. If you're an investor, it literally decides if you can potentially double your income or if you are stuck with long-term tenants and rent control. But even if you are just a resident, a person who wants to live there, it matters just as much.
Oh, totally. If I'm buying a place to live, I do not want a new bachelorette party happening in the unit next door every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night.
Right. It impacts the noise level, the security of the building, the wear and tear on the elevators and the lobby. It also impacts whether the condo board is super aggressive about enforcement. Are they watching the cameras like hawks? It fundamentally changes the entire lifestyle of the building.
Whereas average rent arrears, I mean, that's a statistic. It's kind of
Actually,
interesting, I guess.
it's a lagging indicator. It's interesting, maybe, to know if the board is good at collecting money from tenants. But it doesn't change whether you can sleep at night or how much money you can make from your unit. The governance factors, the rules you actually have to live by, are always key info.
Another physical reality that shocks people, and the source guide really highlights this: parking and lockers.
Oh, the entitlement of the parking spot. This is the source of so many fights and so much confusion.
We just assume, I'm buying a $500,000 condo, of course it comes with a parking spot. I mean, where am I supposed to put my car? In my pocket.
And that very logical assumption will leave you parking on the street 3 blocks away in a snowstorm. In high-rise condos, especially in dense city centers like Toronto, parking and locker allocation is incredibly selective. It is absolutely not a standard right.
So how do developers play this? How do they decide who gets one?
It's treated as a separate product feature. It's purely supply and demand. They might attach spots only to the penthouses or the larger 2-bedroom units. If you buy a 1-bedroom or a studio, you might be blacklisted from buying a spot entirely.
Blacklisted. That's a strong word.
It's the right word. The agreement will literally say unit type X is not eligible to purchase parking, explicitly forbidden. Or they might sell them separately as their own piece of real estate, forcing you to pay an extra $80, $90, even $100,000 on top of the unit price.
$100,000 for a patch of concrete underground.
Welcome to the city. And the source material really emphasizes that this varies wildly from building to building. There is no guaranteed condo standard. You have to check the specific allocation for that specific unit in that specific building. Never, ever assume a spot is waiting for you just because you bought a home.
That is just brutal. Okay, I want to talk about what the source material calls the alphabet soup of condo certificates. If you're a condo owner, you get bombarded with mail, and it all looks super official and important.
It's designed to look official. And honestly, it's really confusing. But the expert source we're drawing from uses a great analogy. It's like Pokemon evolutions. You just have to memorize the set.
Got to catch them all.
Exactly. But you really only need to catch 3 of them, the trio. If you know these 3, you can pretty much ignore the rest of the noise.
Okay, let's do it. Walk us through the trio.
First up, you have the PIC, the Periodic Information Certificate. Think P for periodic. This one comes twice a year, like clockwork. It's just the regular scheduled update. Here's the budget, here are the names of the directors. It's basically the legal newsletter for the corporation.
Okay, PIC equals periodic. Twice a year. Got it.
Next is the ICU, the Information Certificate Update. Think U for update. This is sent out only when there are material changes between those scheduled PICs. Hey, a director resigned, or we changed our management company's address. It updates the information that was previously given.
ICU equals update. Makes sense. And the third?
The NOIC, the New Owner Information Certificate. This one is pretty self-explanatory. It's given specifically to new owners right after they close, to welcome them to the corporation and give them the basics, like the rules and governance documents.
PIC, ICU, NOIC. So why do we need to memorize these? Why not just read everything that comes in the mail?
Because the people who write the exams, and frankly, people who might try to confuse you, love to throw in decoys.
Yeah.
You will see official-sounding but totally fake terms like Condominium Information Certificate. It sounds so real. It sounds more real than Periodic Information Certificate.
This sounds super official. The Condominium Information Certificate. I would probably open that one first.
And it's a ghost. It doesn't exist in the Condominium Act. If you don't memorize the real trio, you will fall for the decoy every single time. It's a simple way to filter the signal from the noise.
Sticking with timing and documents, there's another really critical point in the guide, the turnover meeting. This is the big moment when the builder or the declarant officially hands the building over to the new board of owners. It sounds kind of ceremonial. Handshake and a key exchange.
It's often more like a tense divorce settlement. It can be very adversarial. The builder wants to get out and wash their hands of the place. The new owners want to make sure they aren't inheriting a defective, mismanaged mess.
So there is a list of things the builder absolutely has to hand over at that point. The minute book, the corporate seal, copies of the insurance policies. The question is, when does that happen?
The trap here, mistake people make is thinking within 60 days of the meeting. People love these within X days rules. It feels like a reasonable grace period. I'll get to you next week. Just got to get my files in order.
Sure, give them time to pack up the boxes and mail it over.
No, absolutely not. The reality is those specific critical items, the seal, the minute book, the financial records, they must be provided at the turnover meeting, not later. Not we'll mail it to you, at the meeting itself.
Why is the rule so strict on that point?
Because the new board of directors cannot function without them. The corporate seal isn't just a fancy stamp. It's the legal tool you need to sign official documents. If the board doesn't have it, they can't sign checks to pay the cleaning staff. They can't sign contracts with the new security company. They're legally paralyzed. They need to be able to start governing that night.
That is such a crucial detail. It's not a formality. It's a transfer of power. At the meeting. Okay, hold on to your hats because we are crossing the border now. We are leaving the relatively civilized land of resale condos and entering the Wild West.
The cluster of complexity, we're talking about pre-construction.
New builds. This is where dreams are made and bank accounts are absolutely drained. And frankly, this section of the guide was the most eye-opening, Fanny. The very first thing we need to smash is the standard form myth.
Yes, this is maybe the most dangerous assumption people make. In resale, when you buy a used house or condo, agents use standard ORAA forms. They're balanced, they're predictable, everyone knows what Clause 12 says. It's a level playing field.
But for a brand new condo, straight from a builder.
Throw the standard form out the window. It doesn't exist. There is no universal standard agreement for new builds. Every single builder has their own proprietary contract. It's written by their team of lawyers, strictly for their own benefit.
So it's a dictatorship, not a democracy. The terms are not negotiated.
Completely.
Yeah.
And you cannot import your resale logic into pre-construction. You can't say, oh, well, usually this clause protects the buyer. There's no usually. There's only what is written on the 80 pages of dense legal text in front of you.
So you have to read every single line because there is no baseline normal to rely on.
And the builder's lawyer is counting on the fact that you won't.
Let's talk about protection. Because this sounds risky. What if the builder goes bust? We've all seen this in the news projects getting canceled halfway through, builders just walking away. We have Tarion in Ontario, the warranty corporation.
Right, the new home warranty program.
So here's a pure memorization question from the guy. There is a number you just have to know. If I give a deposit for a condo, let's say I put down $100,000 as a deposit on a nice downtown unit, how much of that deposit is protected by Tarion if the builder goes bankrupt?
For a condominium unit, the Tarion deposit protection coverage is capped at $20,000.
Wait, say that again, $20,000?
Just $20,000. That's it.
But I put down $100,000. Where does the other $80,000 go?
Poof, gone. Into the bankruptcy proceedings, where you'll be lucky to see pennies on the dollar years later, if anything at all.
That's terrifying.
It's a massive, massive risk that people just do not calculate. Now, freehold homes have different higher numbers. It can be up to $60K or $100K depending on the price. But for a condo, the magic number to burn into your brain is $20. If the project evaporates, you are out almost everything you put in.
That is an incredibly sobering fact. It really changes how you should look at reputable builders versus some new guy on the block, doesn't it?
It should. You are essentially giving an unsecured loan to a stranger for several years. You'd better do your due diligence.
Oh, let's fast forward. The building is actually built. Let's talk about the warranties. Tarion has 3 main buckets, a 1-year, a 2-year, and a 7-year warranty.
Correct. 3 distinct timelines.
The 1 year seems pretty easy. It's the fit and finish stuff, scratched floors, a cabinet door that doesn't close properly, the cosmetic stuff you notice when you move in.
Right. And the 7-year is for major structural defects. The building is literally collapsing. The foundation is cracking in half. The truly catastrophic building-ending stuff.
But the 2-year bucket, the guide highlights this as a major trap zone for new owners.
It is the most interesting and misunderstood bucket. This covers the major systems and the building envelope. So water penetration, leaky basements, leaky windows, and the delivery systems for electrical, plumbing, heating.
Okay, that makes sense. But here is the specific trap the source points out. Where do Ontario building code violations that affect health and safety go? Which bucket?
This is where people get it wrong every time. They hear health and safety violation, and their brain immediately jumps to major structural defect. They think 7 years.
Or they just say, well, the builder broke the law, so the warranty on that should be forever.
A reasonable thought, but incorrect. It lands squarely in the 2-year warranty. If the builder violated the code in a way that affects your health or safety, maybe the fire separation in the wall between units isn't thick enough. You have exactly 2 years from your possession date to find it and claim it.
So if you discover a major safety code violation in year 3,
You might be completely out of luck on a warranty claim. Tarion could very well say, sorry, you missed the window for that type of claim.
that feels incredibly short for a fundamental safety issue.
It is. That's why getting professional audits done at the 1-year or 18-month mark is so critical for new condo owners. You cannot just assume the building is safe because it's still standing.
There's another nightmare in pre-con called interim occupancy. The guide alludes to this, but let's flesh it out.
Ah, yes, the phantom mortgage.
Explain this to me. I get the keys, I can move in, but I don't technically own it yet. How does that work?
Exactly. The building is safe enough to live in, so the city grants an occupancy permit. But the condo corporation hasn't been legally registered with the land titles office yet. So you get your keys, you move all your stuff in, and every month you pay the builder a fee.
Is that my mortgage payment? Does it go towards the price of the condo?
No, that is the painful part. You are paying occupancy fees. It's basically rent. That fee covers 3 things: the interest on the unpaid balance of your purchase price, an estimate of the property taxes, and an estimate of the common element fees. But, and this is the absolute kicker, it does not pay down a single cent of your principal debt.
So I could be living there for 6 months, paying thousands of dollars every month, and my debt hasn't gone down at all.
6 months, 12 months. I've seen interim occupancy periods last for 2 years in complex projects.
Yeah.
It is dead money. It is a financial bridge to nowhere. And you absolutely have to budget for that period.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, taxes, specifically HST.
The hidden cost of pre-construction.
Right. When you buy a brand new pre-construction condo, there is this massive HST rebate available. It can be up to $24,000, sometimes even more. The common misconception is, I am the buyer, the government is giving me a rebate, so I get the check.
I'm going to buy a new car with my rebate check.
Exactly. But if you actually read the fine print of that builder's proprietary agreement,
You will almost certainly see a clause that says, the buyer hereby assigns all rebates to the seller. The builder takes it.
so the builder is just stealing my rebate. That feels illegal.
It's not stealing technically. What they're doing is crediting it to you in the purchase price. So the price you see on the big marketing flyer, $500,000, that price assumes the builder is keeping the rebate. It's what's known as a net price.
So if, for some reason, I'm not eligible for the rebate,
Then the price of your condo just went up instantly by
Oh.
$24,000. It's a nasty surprise on closing day.
ouch. And who wouldn't be eligible?
Investors who don't follow the rules.
Yeah.
And this leads directly to the dreaded clawback.
This sounds ominous, like the CRA coming for your money.
That's exactly what it is. If you buy the unit as an investor, you can apply for a specific new residential rental property rebate. But you have to prove you are actually renting it out. And there is usually a requirement for a minimum lease period. The common standard is 1 year. 1 full year. Right. So here is the scenario from the guide. You buy it as an investment, you find a tenant, sign a 1-year lease, but then 3 months later, the market gets red hot and you decide to flip it for a quick $100,000 profit.
Sounds like a smart business move.
It's a terrible tax move.
Right.
Because you didn't keep it as a rental for the full year, you've broken the terms of the rebate. The CRA can come back and claw back that entire $24,000 rebate. They will make you pay it back, plus penalties and interest.
Because the eligibility for the rebate is tied to your intention and follow-through.
Precisely. You cannot just say you are a long-term investor to get the tax break.
Yeah.
You have to walk the walk for at least a year. The logic and the rules for an owner-occupier and an investor are completely different.
This is why reading the fine print is just not optional, is it? Let's look at the mechanics of the deal itself. The agreement of purchase and sale. There are dates in there that literally control your destiny.
Dates are everything in contracts. Miss a date by a minute, lose a deal, lose a deposit.
The guide asks about key dates. One that people often overlook or maybe just don't fully understand is the irrevocable date. It sounds like a spell from Harry Potter. Irrevocable.
It does, but it is arguably the most critical starting date in any offer. It controls one simple thing when the offer dies.
It's the timer, the self-destruct sequence.
It's the countdown clock on the bomb. If I send you an offer to buy your house, and I write in that it is irrevocable until 6:00 p.m. tomorrow, that means you have until exactly 6:00 p.m. to accept it. If you sign it at 6:01 p.m.,
Too late. The deal is dead.
the offer is dust. It doesn't legally exist anymore. You cannot accept a debt offer.
Right.
We would have to start the entire process all over again with a new offer.
Okay, so contrast that with a conditional date.
A conditional date like this offer is conditional on financing for 5 days. That only exists if you put a condition in the offer. It's optional. But an irrevocable date is always present. You cannot have a valid offer without a deadline. It's what forces action.
Then there is the requisition date. This is one I feel even some professionals get wrong.
Oh, constantly. This is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the entire industry. It's a source of so many failed deals.
People seem to think the requisition date is a catch-all deadline to complain about anything and everything. The furnace is old, the paint is chipped, I don't like the look of the neighbor's fence.
The vibe is off in the basement? No, that is not what it's for. The requisition date is strictly and only for title-related objections.
Okay, define that. What is a title objection?
It is the deadline for your lawyer to examine the title deed, the legal history and ownership of the property, and find problems. A valid objection is something like, hey, we discovered there is a registered easement on this property that allows the city to dig up our entire backyard whenever they want to fix a sewer pipe.
That definitely affects your ownership rights.
Exactly. Or, we found there is an old mortgage from 1990 that was never properly discharged from the title. Those are legal title-related issues.
So if my home inspector finds mold in the attic, do I raise that on the requisition date?
No, absolutely not. That is a physical defect of the property. That is handled through your home inspection condition clause or a warranty clause. If you try to use the requisition date to complain about mold, the seller's lawyer will just laugh at you, and they will win. You have to use the right tool for the right job.
Speaking of tools, let's talk about redundant clauses. There is this urge, I think, for some agents to add 1 million extra clauses to a contract to make it look like they're being super thorough.
The thud factor.
Mhm.
If the contract makes a loud thud when you drop it on the table, it must be a good, strong contract.
Look how much work I did for you. But the source material warns against this. Give us an example of a common redundant clause.
A classic one is adding a typed clause into Schedule A saying, the seller gives the buyer permission to order the status certificate.
Sounds reasonable. You need the seller's permission to get the condo documents.
But the standard pre-printed condominium resale agreement already has that clause. It's built right into the boilerplate text. It's usually clause 12 or something similar. If you take the time to type it in again in the schedule, you are just being redundant.
Or what about the approval of agreement clause? The parties agreed to agree to this agreement.
Same thing. The standard wording of the contract usually covers the fact that the parties are agreeing to the terms within. If the pre-printed form already handles it, adding a new clause is, at best, suspicious. It signals to the other agent and to the lawyers that you haven't actually read or understood the pre-printed form you're using.
It basically signals amateur hour.
It does. And in a multiple offer situation, looking like an amateur can absolutely cost your client the deal. If I'm a seller with 5 offers, do I want to work with the agent who writes clean, professional contracts, or the one who adds 5 pages of redundant nonsense that my lawyer now has to read and question?
I'm taking the clean contract every single time. We are in the home stretch here. Let's move to the last section. Zoning, water, and the danger of assuming.
The assumption trap. This destroys so many good investment dreams before they even start.
Right now, everyone wants to be a small-scale developer. You see a nice duplex for sale, and you think, I'm going to turn this into a 4-plex cash flow city.
The missing middle. It's the talk of the town.
The big mistake is either assuming rezoning is required automatically, or conversely assuming I can definitely do this without a problem.
Right. People jump straight to the solution before they've even diagnosed the problem. Step 1 is always verify first. Go to the city's website, pull up the zoning bylaw for that specific address, and read the permitted uses.
Because it might already be legal to have a 4-plex there.
Exactly. It is entirely possible that the current zoning on that property already allows a 4-unit dwelling. You might not need to rezone anything. That could save you a year of your life and $50,000 in consulting fees.
That would be a massive win. But what if the zoning allows it, but the building code doesn't?
That is the crucial second layer. Just because the land use is permitted doesn't mean the physical structure works. Maybe you need specific fire exits that are impossible to build. Maybe the ceiling height in the basement is 2 inches too low to be a legal apartment. You have to check both the zoning rules and the building code.
And if the zoning doesn't allow it?
Then you might need a minor variance or a full zoning bylaw amendment. And a minor variance isn't just filling out a form. It's a quasi-political process. You have to go to a committee of adjustment, your neighbors get notified, and they get to show up and complain about parking and noise.
So don't start demolition on day one based on a hunch.
Never. The motto is verify first, don't assume.
And finally, let's go out to the country. The guide has a couple of great points on rural rules, water and shorelines.
Two big traps out here. First one is well water testing.
Do I need a permit to test the well water at a property I'm buying? I feel like you need a permit for everything these days.
That's the assumption. People think they need permission under the Ontario Water Resources Act to test a well. You don't. It's a process, not a permission. You, or your agent, takes the sample bottle to public health or a private lab. You don't need the government's blessing to check if your drinking water is full of E. coli.
That's good to know. It's treated as a public health issue, not a bureaucracy issue.
Exactly. But the bureaucracy comes roaring back when we start talking about the waterfront.
Okay, so I buy a cottage. I want to build a beautiful new dock or maybe a massive 2-story boathouse right on the shorelands. Who is the boss? Who do I get the permit from?
The immediate instinct is to say the municipality, the local building department, because they handle the permit for the cottage itself.
Right, they issue the building permits for the town?
They do. But if you are building on public shorelands, which often includes the bed of the lake and the shoreline itself up to the high water mark, the authority is not local. It's the provincial ministry. This is Public Lands Act's territory.
So the town might say yes, but the province can come in and say no.
Absolutely. And the province doesn't care about your local building permit. They care about fish habitats, navigation, and public waterways. You need to know who the real boss is for the piece of land you're building on, or you'll be ordered to tear that beautiful boathouse down at your own expense.
This has been intense. I have to admit my head is spinning a little bit.
It's a lot of detail. But that's the reality of the business. The devil isn't just in the details. He owns the whole subdivision.
But that's the entire point, isn't it? The old saying in real estate is location, location, location. But what this deep dive shows is that it should be document, document, document.
It is. If I had to summarize the whole pass-it mindset we've explored today, it's this. Stop guessing. Stop assuming.
And don't interpret the law if you aren't a lawyer.
Right. Stay in your lane. Don't be a hero and try to be an expert in everything.
And don't assume strict rules where flexibility exists like with those special assessments. But on the flip side, you have to memorize the hard, inflexible numbers. The $20,000 Tarion deposit limit. The 1, 2, and 7-year warranty timelines. The rigid deadline of the turnover meeting.
These aren't suggestions. They are the fundamental mechanics of the machine. And if you don't know how the machine works, it will chew you up and spit you out.
It really changes how you look at a potential deal. You stop looking at the shiny granite countertops and you start looking at the reserve fund study. You stop looking at the glossy marketing brochure and you start looking for the assignment clause in Schedule A of the contract.
And that actually brings me to a final provocative thought on this whole concept of document logic.
Let's hear it.
We so often look to these documents, the status certificate, the zoning bylaw, the agreement of purchase and sale, to tell us if a deal is good or bad. We want the paper to make the decision for us. We want the paper to have a stamp on it that says, buy this, you will be rich and happy.
But they don't do that. They can't do that.
No, these documents are fundamentally neutral. They are just data points. The status certificate doesn't care if you go bankrupt because of a special assessment. The zoning bylaw doesn't care if your fourplex dream fails and you lose your shirt.
They are just facts on a page.
They are just facts. The good or bad of a deal comes entirely from how you synthesize that data with your specific goals, your specific risk tolerance, and your specific financial situation. The document is the map. It is not the guide. You are the guide. Or at least your professional team of a lawyer and an agent should be.
That is a really powerful way to end it. The map is not the territory. You can have the best, most detailed map in the world and still walk right off a cliff if you don't know how to read it.
Exactly. You have to learn how to read the map to walk the territory safely.
Well, there you have it. A masterclass in the hidden mechanics of Ontario real estate. I hope your brain is buzzing as much as mine is right now.
It's the good kind of headache, though. The kind that saves you a lot of money and heartache down the road.
Exactly. And I want to encourage everyone listening, if you own a condo, go dig out your last status certificate just for fun. Look at it with fresh eyes. See if you can spot the snapshot versus the forecast. And if you are thinking of buying, well, now you know the right questions to ask.
And more importantly, you know when to stop talking and call a lawyer.
Always a good lesson. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We will catch you on the next one.
Stay curious.
And stay informed. See ya.